After the first two Super Mario Land games on the Game Boy, there naturally had to be a successor, and Nintendo immediately launched a new series featuring Mario's adversary Wario. The gameplay was, of course, somewhat different, but the Wario Land games were fantastic as well. How does the second installment of this series fare? What does the developer do differently in this game? Let's find out together. How does Wario Land 2 for the Game Boy hold up today? The game was developed by Nintendo and was released in 1998 in Europe and North America. However, strangely enough, it was not released in Japan. Wario Land 2 was released in an adapted form for the Game Boy Color in 1999. However, we will be discussing the version for the original Game Boy here since 2012. This version has also been available on the 3D's Virtual Console. The backstory is simple. Captain Syrup steals Wario's treasure. You know what to do, like its predecessor. This part is, of course, a genuine platformer. You move the somewhat ponderous Wario from a side perspective through the levels. Your range of movement is naturally somewhat limited. You can jump, shoulder charge, or perform a ground pound. In terms of power-ups, there is a significant difference compared to the previous game. They are not provided in the form of different hats. No, this game functions quite differently in that regard. You acquire new abilities through the attacks of specific enemies. This might sound strange at first, so here's an example. You need to break through certain blocks from above. However, your ground pound isn't strong enough for this. Luckily, there's an enemy standing nearby who throws cakes at you. If you manage to catch one, you become fat and your weight increases. I don't need to explain what happens next. The path is cleared. From this, you might already recognize that this platformer has a slightly different orientation in game design compared to the competition. The levels are somewhat more intricately designed. There's always a bonus area with coins to discover. The focus is more on overcoming obstacles and orienting yourself in the level. But don't worry, it's not so complex that you'll get lost. This approach is also evident in the enemies and your health. You don't have health points. When you're hit by enemies, you don't lose hearts or anything similar. You only lose a few coins, of which there are many. This makes the game feel somewhat easier to play. You can expect 25 levels, each divided into 5 worlds with 5 levels. The last level naturally includes a boss, as is typical. At the end of each level, you can earn additional coins in a minigame by guessing in a guessing game. However, you need to spend some coins to participate. If you're not interested, you can skip it. Your progress is automatically saved after each level. We don't need to talk extensively about the technology. It's wonderfully well done. As is typical of Nintendo, the sprites are beautifully detailed and exude the wonderful charm that characterizes the series. As a small bonus, there's also a corresponding color scheme for the Super Game Boy adapter. In terms of music, it's similarly unsurprising. There's simply nothing to complain about from this perspective. So what does Wario Land 2 for the Game Boy offer today? I really like the game and even find it better than its predecessor. I think it's a great idea to move away from the classic hat power-ups and instead choose these situational abilities. It just invites experimentation. The level design is delightfully intricate, and you always find coins hidden somewhere. From my perspective, it's not very surprising to give it a clear recommendation. Here, you'll find a charming top-notch platformer that focuses more on other aspects compared to the norm.